I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Big Country Preps Wednesday Night Podcast, a weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we got a special guest. We got Abilene head football coach Mike Fullen. And how about those Eagles? Wow.
Yeah, this is a really good Abilene High team, obviously, sitting at 11-2, taking on Aledo this week in Stephenville, where I'll be for that one. But I'm excited to talk to Coach Fullen. Obviously, I get to talk to him each week in kind of our preview work and kind of preparation for each week. But this week's a special. You got him playing for a region championship, an opportunity to go play for a state semifinal. And I think this Abilene High team, I think, has surprised some folks, and maybe it shouldn't have. You look at what it's done really all season long. This is a really good football team on both sides of the football, and one that's playing with a whole lot of confidence. So I'm excited to talk to Coach Fullen about that here on the podcast this week, and just kind of get his thoughts on where they stand and what they've got ahead of them. But should be a fun conversation, and it'll be good to get him on here in a few minutes.
All right, before we get going, let's thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM, KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM, KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Brecken, KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, new or used, give Rob a shout. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Call him at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. All right. And also, before we get going, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. And then after that, hit the little bell so you get notifications on when we're having a new podcast here at Big Country Prep. So please hit that subscribe button, won't you please? We appreciate it.
With that, let's go ahead and jump in. We'll start. Obviously, we're going to get Coach Fullen on here in a little bit to talk about the Abilene Eagles. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the playoffs. Obviously, we had a big show on the playoffs where we talked a lot about it last week. This week, we're going to maybe hit a little quicker, but we're headed to the region finals, the fourth round, the state semifinals for the six-man program. So we are inching ever closer to that state championship week, which will be here before we know it.
And we'll start at the six-man level, TAP six-man Division III, the state championship this week. Abilene Christian against Conroe Covenant Christian. That's going to be Thursday at Waco ISD Stadium. Abilene Christian coming off a 52-42 win over Lucas Christian Academy last week in the state semis.
Yeah, how about those Panthers? We had talked last week about that matchup. They had missed kind of the team people expected them to, because that Lucas Christian team had pulled off an upset. So for Abilene Christian to get maybe a little bit of a break there in the pairings and then take advantage of it, a huge win in the semifinals has them with the opportunity to win a state championship, which is obviously a big deal. So that's going to be fun to watch this weekend.
All right, in Class 1A, D2 state semifinals, Benjamin at 13-0 against Klondike 11-1. Benjamin going in with a good shot at defending that state championship, Dan. They're going to be facing Klondike 4 p.m. Saturday at the Mustang Bowl in Sweetwater.
And they're obviously coming off a really high-profile win over Jayton, which we spent quite a bit of time on last week talking about that matchup. Benjamin went in there and just kind of overwhelmed them with their speed, won 85-40 to earn this opportunity. And as everyone knows, that Benjamin team's got a lot of weapons offensively, and it looks like we could very well see them in Arlington here in a couple of weeks.
Last week, Region 4, 1A, D1, we lost the May Tigers falling to Jonesboro 86-39, but that's a powerhouse Jonesboro team that the Tigers fell to.
Yeah, and that sets up a big state semifinal this week against Gordon, 13-0 Gordon against 12-1 Jonesboro. That's at 1 p.m. Saturday at Weatherford's Kangaroo Stadium. Gordon earned that with just a whooping of Abbott. We talked about how close we thought that game would be, how we thought if Gordon played well, they'd have a chance to win. They ended up beating them 64-16. What a win for the Longhorns.
All right, and the other side of the 1A bracket, Dan, we got Westbrook still alive. They're going to be facing Happy, 6:30 p.m. Friday at Lubbock Christian's Mass Rider Capitol Field. Westbrook coming off a big win over a good Borden County team.
Yeah, beat them 110-65. And this Westbrook program, we need to probably start talking about that program and what Coach Homer Matlock has built there. Coming off back-to-back state championships, looks like they could be headed right back there. This will obviously be a tough matchup with Happy, but at this point, it's hard to pick against Westbrook. That is a program and a team that is just rolling.
All right, now we're going to jump up to Class 2A, Division II. We've got Albany trying to defend its state championship, but they're going to have to get there first and have to get through Collinsville That is a very good, explosive Collinsville team that frankly beat up on Roscoe last week, 50-12. Albany slipping past Munster, 19-14. So we shall see. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Lions. That's going to be Thursday at Iowa Park, Hawk Stadium.
We had talked last week about that Albany matchup with Munster. I thought it was going to be a tough one. I thought Albany would maybe pull away a little quicker than they did. So this may be a wake-up call they need, because Collinsville, like you said, extraordinarily explosive. This is as good a passing offense as you're going to find at the small school level. This is a matchup I've been looking forward to a long time ago, or for a long time now, because I've just been following that Collinsville team all year and seeing what they were doing offensively. I think this was kind of, in my mind, a collision course, and I'm excited to see how this one goes. This is going to be maybe the best, one of the best small school defenses in the state in Albany against one of the best small school offenses in Collinsville. It's going to just be a classic clash in that regard. It's going to be fun, in my opinion, to see who wins that matchup in particular.
All right, and with that, we're going to go to Class 2A D1, and again, the big country with a team still alive, and this time it's going to be Holly still alive in pursuit of its second straight state championship, trying to defend that, but they're going to have to get through Stratford in the regional final. That's going to be a tough one. Stratford comes in at 13-0, Holly at 11-2, 6 p.m. Friday at Lubbock's Lowry Field.
Yeah, and this is a huge matchup between two teams that probably nobody's real surprised to see there. Stratford has been just a power in that region for a long time. 13-0, undefeated. They took out Stamford a couple of weeks ago in the area round, beat them by 2 scores. But this Holly team, the way they're playing right now, I have trouble picking against them. You look at what they did to Panhandle, just ran them off the field. Sonora, really good Sonora team, dominated them. This is going to be a fun matchup. These are two very good football teams with, in my opinion, a chance to whoever wins this has a chance to extend this run to Arlington.
All right, we're going to jump up to Class 3A D2. Comanche, unfortunately, they ran into, Dan, what a lot of people are saying might be the best Gunter team Gunter's ever had, and that's saying a lot. They fell to Gunter in the regional semifinals last week, 45-0.
And that game was close for a while. Comanche really hung in there well for a quarter. Into the second quarter, had a turnover that kind of gave the Gunter that multi-score lead, and then Gunter was able to pull away from there. But Comanche, on the defensive side in particular, really acquitted itself well. Unfortunately, Gunter was just too strong, but they really Comanche put up a fight and deserve a lot of credit for that.
All right, now we're going to switch over to Region 1 in Class 3A D2. We have one survivor still going, Dan. That is the Wall Hawks. You're going to be facing perennial power Canadian. This is a rematch of the regional final from last year, and it did not go well for Wall. They lost in a blowout, but this is a better Wall football team than it was last year. They are better defensively, and perhaps more importantly, they're better offensively. They're able to move the chains against good football teams. So if they get that option game going and limit possessions, maybe we'll see. But it's going to be a great Canadian team they're going up against. 6 p.m. Friday at Lubbock Cooper's Pirate Stadium.
Yeah, no question. And they're coming off a 35-6 dismantling of Lubbock Roosevelt, overcoming a few mistakes to do that. We had talked a lot about that matchup last week, and I think that shows you some of the improvements that Wall has made and the fact that they can overcome some of those things and still beat a good team.
Yeah, I think somebody said that was going to be a dangerous game for Wall if they made some mistakes. I think somebody said that. Somebody resembling me.
A little off.
Somebody resembling me said that. And you know what? Wall had 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers in the first half. They were -3 in turnovers in the first half and still led 14-0. And at that point, you just knew if they cleaned that up, it was going to get out of hand, and it did.
And in fairness, I think what you said last week is absolutely true this week. Wall cannot afford those types of mistakes against this Canadian team. They're going to have to clean that kind of stuff up, play almost a perfect game, control the clock, have long possessions, really efficient to have a chance.
Well, any team in the state, and I mean any team in the state, if you're -3 in turnovers against Canadian, you're not going to win the ballgame. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, Wall definitely has to play a cleaner game than they did a week ago to win this one. We're going to go to Region 1, 3A, D1. Moving up to D1, we have Brock still alive. They're facing Paradise in a rematch of a classic district game earlier this year, Dan. Brock comes in at 10-3, Paradise at 12-1. That's 7 p.m. Friday at Mineral Wells Ram Stadium. And really, all along, you were saying Paradise was the only team in this region that might give Brock a go. And here we are.
Yeah, and I think this was, like I said, kind of expected. You got 2 really good football teams that have already played once and played a pretty competitive game the first time. I'm excited about that one. But before we do move on, I do think it's worth mentioning that Clyde for a little while, until Blake Carr hurt his ankle, had to miss the last 3 quarters of that game basically. Before he went out, Clyde was giving Brock a go. Clyde came to compete in that game as we said they would. Unfortunately, that injury obviously changed things on the offensive side, and then defensively they had trouble slowing Brock as the game went on. But yeah, that shows two things. It shows the fight that Clyde team had, and just the quality of team they were. And it also shows how good Brock is, that they can really lay it on a team like that. But this Brock team's good. We've known it all year.
It doesn't take much to have a game get away from you if you're playing Brock, especially when you lose your starting quarterback, make a mistake or two, and then boom, get away from you pretty quick. They're that good.
And this Brock team, they're just so good in all phases. They can score defensively, they can score on special teams, and obviously their offense is very efficient. So if you don't play a near perfect game against them, they're going to bury you that way. So this is going to be fun to see if Paradise can do that again. They played a pretty clean game and still lost by a couple of scores. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out.
All right, now we're going to jump up to Class 4A, Region 2, D1, where Stephenville is still alive. Dan, they're coming off a thrilling 7-3 win over Salina, and it was a thrilling 7-3 win over Salina. They're going to be facing Anna. That's 7:30 Friday at what they call the FAC in Birdville.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think, a really tough matchup for Stephenville, but this Stephenville team's played nothing but tough matchups all year. Anna that's a special football team. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm excited to see what Stephenville can do. This is a team that has won a lot of different ways, and it's just a very mentally tough, physically tough football team. I'm excited about this matchup.
All right, and also in Class 4A D1, we've got Brownwood facing Decatur. That's going to be 7 p.m. Friday at Waco's McLean Stadium. Small venue there for this matchup, McLean Stadium at Baylor. Brownwood coming off a big 37-17 win over a good Springtown team. Now they've got Decatur, and you're saying that this Decatur team is much better than that 9-4 record.
Take a look at their schedule. You can pretty much ignore that record. One of those losses was a close loss to that Anna team we just talked about. But this Decatur team has done nothing but get better as the season's gone on. They're playing really, really good football. But of course, so is Brownwood. Brownwood is playing at an exceptionally high level on both sides of the football. I expect this to be a really good competitive game. But Decatur is dangerous. That is a very, very good football team.
All right, and last but not least, what we're going to be talking about quite a bit in this show, Abilene High facing perennial power Aledo. That's going to be 7 p.m. Friday at Stephenville's Tarleton State University Memorial Stadium. Abilene coming off an impressive 27-16 win over Justin Northwest. I'm astonished at how well Abilene High they've gotten better and better. They're just playing so well right now.
Yeah, big matchup here with Aledo, a game I'm really looking forward to. Abilene High coming off a couple of really impressive wins, beat Denton Ryan a couple of weeks ago in a game that some, particularly those out east, weren't necessarily expecting. Follow that up with a 2-score win over Justin Northwest. This is a good football team out of Abilene High, playing what I think is really considered a great football team in Aledo. I think this is going to be a better matchup than some expect. I think Abilene High is going to give them all they've got. I'm excited to see what they do. And obviously we'll be talking to Coach Fullen about that here in just a minute, but this is a special Abilene High team, and I think this is a special moment for them to get a chance to continue to earn that respect. This is a program that is out for respect, and you beat Aledo, you're going to get that respect.
And on the subject of Coach Fullen, he is now in the ready section here at Zoom. So you ready to speak to him?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get him on.
And joining us now, Abilene head football coach Mike Fullen. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Coach, this is the deepest playoff run in 12 years. It's the best record since 2016. What are the big keys that brought us to this point in this ball club this year?
We've got a strong senior class. These seniors have, we're here as freshmen in 2020 when we kind of reestablished ourselves around here and the standards that we wanted. And that they play together really well, and they enjoy playing. They enjoy being around each other. They know how to have fun, but when we get on the practice field, they know it's all business. And it's just we got stud coaches and stud players, and man, they're just doing a fantastic job.
And y'all coming off a couple of really impressive wins off of Metroplex teams rather, to get here. A stiff test this week against a state power in Aledo. What are your thoughts on this matchup and some keys to being able to extend this run past Aledo?
We're every round we just enjoyed the opportunity to compete. And, our guys, they love competition. They love the challenges, and we've been the challenger, in most of the games we played in thus far in the playoffs. And, but that's why you do what you do. That's why you work hard in the off season. It's why you do everything that you do in the summertime, and is to get into positions to play in games like these, and our guys are looking forward to the opportunity. They understand that this will be the best team we've played, and I hope we're the best team they played. That's the way it should be in this round. But the biggest deal is our guys just they don't really pay attention to the outside noise. They don't really pay attention to all the scuttle that goes around. It's been pretty much business as usual around here. But understand that probably the thing that stands out about Aledo is just how hard they play for as long as they're a 4-quarter football team. And I like to say that we are too, and that's one thing that we've challenged the guys with is the intensity that you're going to have to play with and how long you're going to have to play with it. I think Coach Hartfield kind of tagged it as having competitive stamina, because we played common opponents, with them playing Lubbock Cooper and Denton Ryan as well, and those guys were toe to toe with them. But I think that in the end, it was just the competitive stamina and being able to sustain that is going to be key. And our deal is we want to keep them in the cage and make them fight us, because they're a big momentum team. They like to get momentum and they feed off of it. And our goal is to go out there and play our best football and play our best football game and see if they can beat us.
Coach, you kind of touched on our next question. We were going to ask you about embracing the underdog role. You did touch on that a bit. Why is Abilene so good at that this year? What is it about this team that makes them enjoy that role coming in as an underdog?
Oh, I don't know that they enjoy it. I mean, I think that's just the way, I don't mean anything against you guys, but that's kind of the way that the media and the people outside and especially the Metroplex people, they're not familiar with us out here, and so when we go play teams from out there, they just kind of think we're just a small town bunch of misfits that don't know how to play, and I guess our guys kind of embrace that. They like that kind of look at us that way. They like being everybody enjoys being the underdog, and because there's a sense of pride that goes with it as far as the challenge that comes with it. And our guys, they just don't really pay attention to those things. I mean, it's kind of getting harder and harder to motivate them. Not that they're not motivated, but you kind of run out of things to keep them keep their energy up, if you will. I can't use the term that I want to use on your show, but I mean they just, man, they meet every challenge head on. They're very competitive. We just got a lot of guys that football is important to them. They're passionate about it. Our coaches get them well prepared every week, and they just go out there and do the best they can. And thus far, they've done a really good job of it. And they're definitely going to give you all they got for 4 quarters for sure.
All right. One of the things, Coach, that I love about your program is how process oriented it is. It's something we've talked about a lot over the years or over the weeks when we've had our discussions, just about how this is a team that does get better week after week after week. It's a team that can, has made deep runs with a fair number of losses just because it's has gotten so much better over the course of a particular season. I guess just what is it about this program that allows it to do that and make the types of strides that y'all make from the beginning of a season to the end of a season, because those strides are generally pretty big.
Well, I mean, it's kind of what's the way you set up everything, your operations, and from where you start things in January. I'm a very regimented, very probably over-organized person, but I think that everybody talks about embracing the process and staying consistent, and that's probably the hardest thing to do in today's world, but even in just a longevity of a season or of an overall program is staying consistent with what you do. I mean, you've definitely got to add wrinkles, and stay up with the times, but your base level stuff, you staying consistent with that, with the way that you practice, with the way that you approach things, the smallest things, because kids, one, they like consistency, they like discipline, even though they won't always admit it, but they want structure, and I think that's one thing that I learned, when I got here from Coach Warren, that is just the structure. And so, I mean, the three big things that we do, we're going to be very consistent in what we do. We're going to hold players accountable, and that's not accountable in anything that negative that might happen. Just accountable in everything, And so it's just the consistency to get better, and that's one thing that we talked about early in the year was, we always want to be playing on Friday to up to our capabilities, and we have to close that gap from Monday through Friday. So and then you play that game, you reestablish your capability, and so the next week you want to close the gap on that to where, hopefully at this time of the year you're playing at your full capability. We don't ever use the word potential around here. Potential is a sin word, and it'll get you kicked out of a field house quicker than anything. But it's about meeting your capability, staying consistent. Obviously, things change, and sometimes we change those on purpose, and we do. But I really think it's just the way that we practice, and then just the way we go about our daily operations every day, that our kids know. They know what's going to happen on a Monday. They know what's going to happen on a Tuesday. They know what's going to happen on a Wednesday, and even that's starts it'll start in January when we start rebuilding for 2024. But the big deal is just people talk about embracing the process or believe in the process, but it's tough to sustain it and stay consistent with it, and I think that's one thing that we do a pretty good job of.
Coach, your program has been playing well defensively for years now. Can you walk us through what the biggest factors are in keeping that tradition alive? And I think we can use that word tradition now.
Well, it's one as Coach Williamson, who's our defensive coordinator. He's been with me for 15 years, and when I was the coordinator, he came on board, and so he knows the nuts and bolts of the defense, and again, it's consistency. The same things that we put together back, in the early 2000s are still the same things that we do now. But there's a lot of new wrinkles. He's added new wrinkles to where, I think there's things that we do defensively that are even much better than when I was the coordinator. But it's just a consistency that we have, and a lot of our guys grow up in this defense, from seventh grade on up. So there's a lot of retention from year to year, and and then fitting your personnel, and your personnel changes every year, and but our base defense is what it is, but we also will change it depending on the personnel, but it doesn't change the overall integrity of the defense from year to year. And so, some years the defense is going to have strength in one thing than the other. But I think one thing that we've always been good at is how we play the run. And that's there's no secrets to it. It's just we're a fit oriented defense, and which takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of repetition. Uh, and our guys, they believe in it. The players play extremely hard for Coach Will and Coach Gary and the defensive staff. And the other thing is Coach Gary, he played in this defense, so he knows what it's all about too. And so it's having those guys and then having those coaches, and then from year to year it gets to be at a level to where you set standards that each group that comes up, and they want to be a part of the defense, and they don't want to be one of them that didn't hold the line and hold the standards. So I think that's one thing that has always been around here. We've got a lot of little trinkets and little fun things that we do to motivate the defense and that they enjoy. And but again, I think it goes back to everything that we do program wise. It's consistent, and we start from ground zero every spring. As far as we don't take for granted that this guy knows what to do on a defense. He's going to take it all the way back down to the bones and rebuild it every year, no matter if we got a lot of guys returning or not. This last year we lost a lot of good defensive guys, especially in the secondary, and we were able to bring some guys over from the offense that could pick up on the scheme. So I think it's the way they introduce the scheme and teach the scheme to those guys to where they're able to pick it up, and then they just want to get in they want to get in the boat and hold the rope and meet the standards that the previous defenses have.
All right, Coach, in addition to what y'all do defensively, which, like we just talked about, is something that's just become a standard of the program that you expect, I think one thing's made this team special is just the explosiveness that y'all have on the offensive side. And the interesting thing to me is it's a lot of those same players that were on last year's group that have just grown and gotten better and better. Just how much has the experience that they have kind of contributed to what they've been able to do this year, where they've really taken a big step forward?
Oh, there's no question that's what's helped, but it's also evolving the scheme to fit the players that we have. I think Kobe Hartfield's done a fantastic job in the way that he has been able to introduce game plans from week to week that where a lot of people touch the ball, and we've been working all year, with two quarterbacks, which a lot of people, can't make that work, and he puts a lot of time in to make sure that it's going to one, be able to be successful with both guys. He keeps into account the volume of each quarterback's plays, then also who's getting touches, and the big thing that I think that he's done a really good job of is the capability of establishing threats. Where you just can't take away one guy here, one guy there. And then, both quarterbacks did extremely great job over the summer of developing their footwork, developing their throwing. Spent a lot of time up here with Coach Hartfield and Coach Gorman early in the season. And then, it's just, the experience that we got, I mean, we knew last year it was going to be rough sledding early on, but we stayed again with the process, understanding, what we could do, but we just had to stay consistent. We had to get guys ready for certain situations that they weren't ready for early in the year last year. And then being fortunate to play 3 rounds last year, helped us with getting those guys experience. And so, I mean, just the way that Coach Hartfield, Coach Martinez done a fantastic job with our offensive line. Our offensive line has really grown up, and we've only got one senior there this year. And so it's going to be nice to have those guys back because everything starts up front. And I think the one thing that the whole offensive staff's done is really simplified it for offensive line, where we look very complicated, to the outside, but really it's not that hard.
Coach, you've gone 3 rounds, uh, 3 times in the last 4 years. You've won a district championship. Um, Tell us about how special it is for you and your staff to see Abilene back up at this level of consistency and winning at this level.
Yeah, I mean it's something I was used to for a long time, and was a part of it. Just really never paid attention to it because I was, I just took care of my little world on defense. But when I got into this role here, in 2019, it was different. It was different coming over to this side of the table and sitting in this chair. And I'm going to probably credit a lot for me personally is what happened. When I got sick, and I was away from this program. I kind of rededicated myself, reevaluated what I wanted to be, what I wanted this program to be, and even getting feedback from players that I interviewed, uh, seniors that I interviewed when they were graduating 2019 after 2019 season, and I told my wife, so when I get back from this thing, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I'm going to put my spin on it. I'm gonna be who I am, and it's I can't be somebody. Not that I wasn't. I just did. I didn't know how to be a head coach. I'll be honest with you. In 2019, but I get better at it every year. I hope. I learn every year. But you know, and we didn't make a whole lot of wholesale changes. Um, but this freshman class that was here was part of that off season in 2020 where we kind of, just went back to doing some things that we'd done in the past. And then, really it was just a process deal, and I can't be, I'm happy for the guys that have been here a long time. They've been back when we were, you know, in the playoffs every year and winning district championships. I mean, still have guys that were here when we used to do that, and so I'm really proud of that. But I'm not one to, I'm not gonna. I'll worry about and look back on all that when it's all done. I like to just keep going. What's next? And why I'm here. Why I'm not going to be long for this, obviously. Um, so while I'm here, I'm going to give my very best and just give a product that our fans and our school can be proud of. That's the biggest thing that is important to me, and I know it is important to our coaches that we put a good product out that people can be proud of and that is respected. And I think we're doing that.
And last question, but one thing I've found neat just in the interactions we've had over the years and kind of getting to see the way you work with your staff some is how close knit that this Abilene High staff is. Even when you've had turnover, there just seems to be a culture there where the entire staff is just always, you can tell how close it is. Just how important has that been to you when you took over that head coaching job to kind of maintain a culture like that, and just how much more fun does that make working when you are as close as you are with your coaches?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, because you spend so much time together, and so it's huge that the people that come in here, we know that, hey, they're going to be a fit here, and so like if somebody's moves on or leaves the staff and we look to hire somebody, I involve those other guys. I want them. They spend time with them to get to know them before we bring them on, just to make sure that, hey, well, is this a guy that can fit with us? He may know ball, but can he fit in with our staff? Because the continuity that you have to have is huge, because you spend so much time together and you're going to go through some ups and downs. And we do have a really good staff, and the probably the biggest thing they got to have thick skin, because we jab each other quite a bit. In a fun way, but you can't wear your feelings on your shirt around here. And but yeah, the consistency and the guys gelling together. And by no means, there's some foxhole talk that goes on Friday nights, and but they all know that there's nothing ever personal, and that's just the passion that the coaches have for the program and for the players. And so, yeah, being able to have that, and there's no animosity, who's getting, who's getting the notoriety here or there. They just want to win, and they want those kids to be successful. And that's probably the biggest deal, is how much our coaches care about the kids. And I think that's a big key that we have, is our guys do a really good job of building relationships with their positions.
Coach, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be obviously keeping a close eye on you the rest of the way. Best of luck to you.
Okay.
And that was Abilene head football coach Mike Fullen. And very quietly, Mike has become, one of the most consistent, effective coaches in our area, and he's doing it at the highest level, just about.
Yeah,
it's the highest level in our area.
And one of the things that I like about the program, and I asked him about it, was that this is a team that you can watch early in the season and be moderately impressed with, but by the end of the season it's going to be a really tough out. Just the improvement they make week in and week out. So you'll see this team make runs to the third round with a losing record on occasion. Obviously, this one's special in that its offense has been so good that their record matches how competitive they've been this year. But he's going to get the absolute most out of every team he has. And really, he's done a great job of getting this program back to kind of where it was at the end of the Steve Warren era. And that was obviously one of the high points of the modern Abilene High program. So it's been cool seeing him build this, and it's a labor of love. He's been there a really long time. It matters to him, and it's just cool watching that staff in particular, because there are a lot of guys who played at Abilene High, and some of them, for Coach Fullen, that have really made it a point to really kind of get it back to this point. So it's been cool to see, and I'm looking forward to watching this team play on Friday. I think this is a really good Abilene High team. I'm excited to see what they can do against Toledo.
All right. And with that, it's about time to wrap up the Big Country Preps Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you, we got 3 separate subscription packages here at Big Country Preps. We got a monthly for $5 a month. We got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we got an annual 12-month subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month. And that's $36 for a full year of Big Country high school athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you that if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, those are available for purchase. We have photo downloads available for $7, as well as some keepsakes and prints. So make sure you check those out. As you scroll through the site, you'll notice pretty quickly that we take a lot of photos from these games we're at, and we try to make it out to a whole lot of sporting events over the course of a school year. So something we enjoy doing, and something we are very proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.